Hi, Kidmin volunteers. Welcome to summer, Kidmin Quarterly 2025. And this is just your brief overview of what is included in this quarterly newsletter. So, in every quarterly newsletter, there's 5 different sections. A little intro from me. You're here, you're watching it. That's the first thing. The second section is where I get to highlight you and do special volunteer highlights this month or quarter. I'm highlighting chameleon volunteers, those volunteers that are willing to jump in anywhere and everywhere. They get called last minute. They're just super dynamic and just want to give them a shout out. So look below for their pictures, their names, and if you see them around, say thank you and that they're incredible. There's also a section about what's coming, some dates and events that are upcoming. We're switching to 2 services. We've got baptism coming up. Move Up is happening June 15th for kids and their next grade levels. And so look ahead for some of those details. Another section is the schedules and such. So the summer schedule has gone out, and if you didn't get that, let me know. If you think you should have gotten it, or you're on it and you don't want to be on it, or something like that, if you just see anything amiss, reach out to me. I'd love to coordinate with you and figure that all out. And if you're willing to jump in for a couple extra slots, we still have quite a few that need to be covered. And so if you've got that availability, let me know. I'd love to put you perhaps in a different classroom, try something different that you've never done before. And then the meat and potatoes of this particular Kidmin Quarterly is the tips and tricks section, because we had an in-person training on April 12th, and I know not a lot of people were able to make that. And so I have summarized that and put it into some really practical tips and tricks for you so that you can review what we talked about. And the whole core of what that training was about was working with kids who are higher needs or neurodivergent and they need some different regulation. And as our church is growing, we have more and more families who have kids with special needs, whether that's autism or Down syndrome, or it's just kids who need a little bit extra. Maybe they have some sensory type issues. Maybe they just learn in a different way. And really, all of these skills that are in this top 10 list and like highly applicable types of activities and grounding techniques and things you can use apply to all kids. And they're great for all different types of kids. Honestly, they work for me as well. I have a daughter who has some anxiety, and we dove into looking at calming techniques and breathing and pressure points, and just thinking through the problem in a different way. And some of those things have been super helpful for me to kind of grasp where I'm at, identify an emotion, and then calm down and calmly move forward in making a decision, or just taking a breath and resting and resetting my mind when it's going 100 miles an hour. So hopefully some of these tips are applicable for you, your families, and definitely in the classroom. I would love for you to spend the most time in this tips and tricks section for this quarterly and choose some of those things to try out the next time you're in a classroom, or practice some of those things at home. We also talked a lot about kind of trauma-based response. And so kids come from all sorts of different families and backgrounds, and they perceive the world in all sorts of different ways. And so really it's just a way to think about how we're building trust with them and relationship with them. And are we providing a space and an area where they can learn best about who Jesus is just in that short time that we have them, but also seeing them and seeing their families and supporting in a much broader spectrum as well. And a part of what I do is talk with you and gather information about the students in your classrooms, and then follow up with parents and have hopefully supporting and encouraging conversations in how we can meet the needs of their kid within the classroom, but then how we can connect them with resources throughout the community as well in successfully raising their kids. And so you play a role in that. You are important and valuable. I appreciate each one of you for pouring into these families. I know sometimes it feels like you're just showing up and filling a spot, and that is not the case. You have a purpose and a mission in raising these kids. And you partner with parents for that short time to be a model for their kids, to be consistent and loving and kind and an example of who Jesus is to them. And some of you also teach super valuable biblical truth. And I know that my own kids and several kids, that is foundational in their heart. And later, when they make decisions to follow Jesus, or when they're up against controversy or something that challenges their faith, they go back to those roots and back to the core that they've memorized and heard over and over again. And you're providing that. So thank you so much for serving, and have a great summer.